welcome to this next Redis lesson. So in this video, we are going to learn now to apply what we learned from Redis caching. We learned from the previous video that was using Redis to the using the that was learning the Redis commands. That was the get, set, the simple commands that can be used that can be used in hand-in-hand caching. In our previous videos, we learned how to install Redis, how to use Redis, its basic commands and everything. So now we are just going to implement what we learned in the previous video. If you have not watched the video, then I recommend you watch it first, then come to this. If you're already familiar with Redis, then we can just dive in and go ahead. So I'll not waste more time. I'll just go direct to it. Now, first, remember this file caching, the caching system that we built using JSON. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to replicate the same format, but this time I'm going to use Redis. Instead of using the file as a cache, I'm going to use the Redis server as a cache. As you can see down here, right here, I have my Redis running. So if I do ping, say pong. So currently, the only keys that are there are students only. So that is what we have there. So let's just go and do this. So I'll copy everything from this into this file. Now for us to use Redis, you have to import Redis from the Python modules, and Redis is not an inbuilt module, so you have to download it using pip. So I'll import Redis, and then I'll create a Redis object here, create a Redis client here, which will be equal to Redis. So this will help us access the Redis. So the Redis server, so host will be equal to localhost because it's on my local computer. And then port will be equal to 6379, the port that Redis ran from, and then db 0. So if you look at our function, the first thing we try to do is try to retrieve the data we've gained from the local cache. If it's not in the local cache, we try to get it from the API. So we are going to do the same. Right here, we will delete all this. I think I just remove this. Sorry. If I remove that, then data will be equal to Redis CLI dot get. You're going to get users. So that is the first thing we'll do. We try to get data from the Redis client. Then if the data is none, you have to access the API. So if data is none, then we'll have to do Redis. So we have to, I think I'll just copy this. We have to get data from the API. So I'll copy everything here. I'll cut all this and I'll paste it here. I think I'll have to tab that. So we'll try to get data from the API. If the data is from the API, we print this. Something is wrong. API print cache.find request.get JSON data is equal to this. Now what is going to change is this part. This part, you're not going to create a file cache. We're going to get our data from Redis. So what I'm going to do, instead of where we're creating the cache, we'll do Redis CLI set. Remember the set command. So I think I'll set users. Let's call it this users, and then the value will be equal to JSON dumps, we're going to dump data, this data here that we retrieved. So after that, we'll print, I think, cache created, Then I think I'm going to delete this as well. So if the data is not in the cache, then this is what we are going to do. If it's in the cache, we're just going to return it. So else return data. Actually, not data. We'll do JSON loads the data, so that it comes in a good format, not a format that will be bad on screen. So this is basically what we have to do. JSON.load. Oh, I have to remove this try and except block. There's a try block here. Now I think everything will be okay. Now what is the problem? What is the problem? Define. So let me do this. I'll return, not there, it's supposed to be return it. I think that is it. So first we'll try to get data if the user is present in the Redis server. If it's not, we'll retrieve the data from the API, and then we'll cache the data into the Redis client. Then when we retrieve it later, it will be okay. So I think the remaining part will be the same, just to tell us how much time it takes to run the cache. So what I'm going to do is run this. I think I'll do Python. So to run the script, do Python redis cache.py. For some reason, my PC is not working for some reason. I don't know what's the problem. So I'll do Python. Let me just use this other Python. My command line is not working. I don't know what's the problem. Yes, Python. Where is, yeah. So if I run this, you'll see retrieving data from cache not found, fetching data from the API, then the rest will just flow. You can see fetch data from API, cache created, and that has taken a total of 9 seconds. Wow, that's a lot of time. So if you try to retrieve it again, you can see it only takes 0.6 seconds. After taking all that time getting the data from the cache, when we now rerun the script, you can see we are getting the same data for 0 seconds only. So if I run it again, you can see 0.5 seconds. Now the problem with this is what we talked about. It will always, after getting the data from the from the API, it will always serve data from the cache. So what we have to do is to correct that. We can correct that by maybe set x. Let me just do something here. So what I'm going to do, we are going to use to set the expiry. So setting the expiries will help the system realize that maybe the data is this. Setting the system will help the cache update itself once in a while, or after a certain period of time. So remember the set x command that we used when we were learning the redis commands. So I'm going to use the same command here, so that after a certain amount of time the cache clears itself. So when you run the command again, it will have to retrieve data from the API. Then unless that time is after that time runs out, then you reset, then you get data from the API. So this will help the cache and the database to be in sync at all times. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to, in this set request, instead of using set, I will use set x. So set x requires one more argument, that is the time. So I'll set the time to be expiry time to be 20 seconds, and then I will clear up here. I will delete the previous cache. Redis client dot delete. Remember the delete command. We're going to delete users so that you can create a new API. So I'm going to clear this. You'll see it retrieves data from the API. So I'm going to comment this out. This was just for deleting. Get that out and run this again. You'll see that right now it cannot find the cache, so it fetches data from the API and it takes 2 seconds. So after 20 seconds, it will have to fetch again from the API. You can see it's still serving from the cache. I believe it's now it should also, I believe 20 seconds are almost over. You can see it's still serving from the cache. You can see now data not found in the cache. It retrieves the data from the API and sets the expiry date for 20 seconds. So after every 20 seconds, your cache should be updating. So in case this data is updated or more users are updated, I think it will run. It will give more users here, more results. You can see we're printing every user that is present in the cache. So assuming that you yourself after every 10 seconds, it doesn't necessarily have to be 10, it can be 20 depending on how much time you decided your cache to update. You can decide to update it after every 24 hours. So that entirely depends on you. So I hope you've learned something here, and stay tuned for the